people might have this 10 ways to wear a white shirt. And I'm like, where are you wearing and you're going? Like, go out and show me that you wore this on the street.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 5 of Hashtag Career Goals. I'm so thrilled to have Jainee with me on this episode. If you already don't know, she is a super cool personal stylist, an image consultant, and a content creator with 70K Instagram followers. So thank you, Jainee. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Nitya. It's a pleasure.
Jenny, so I'm going to start off the episode on a quick note. Under a minute, can you tell us what exactly does an image consultant do?
An image consultant works on appearance, behavior, and communication. If you broadly search Google, then this is what you're going to get. Every image consultant in the world specializes in one of these fields. I specialize in the appearance part. So I'm like a personal branding strategist for you. Okay. What happens is why I took up appearances, because people often feel that clothing is vain. However, they don't realize that between the utility and the vainness that we talk about clothes, there is 80% of things that clothes make us feel what we want to feel, which often people don't realize. So that's what I do as an image consultant. Does that answer your question under a minute?
It does. And that's so interesting that you say that it sounds vain, but a lot of times we're able to express ourselves through what we wear, right? It can be like color, it can be texture.
100%, 100%. It's like the whole psychology behind dressing up is something that people often fail to recognize, and how that image, that reflection of you in the mirror is what you see is going to dictate your day. So if that reflection in the mirror feels that, oh, my hair is, I have a bad hair day today, then you will see yourself fidgeting with your hair throughout the day,
Yeah.
because you saw yourself one time in the mirror and you decided that I am having a bad hair day. And then one hair strand here and there. And it's applicable to all genders. It's not just applicable to people who identify as women. It's applicable to all genders. It's a reflection of image that you will take with you the whole day.
Completely agree with you on that. Jenny, is there a particular degree or like a certification that one can do to become an image consultant?
So ideally, there is no degree as such certified if you're just talking about India or even in North America, except for Mexico. Mexico is the only place where 17 universities give image consulting as a course now. You know how you can become an interior designer, or all these are creative fields. Similarly, Mexico is the only place where image consulting is part of their curriculum, affiliated by the government. Everywhere across the world, as far as I know, it's not affiliated by government institution. And because it's not there, image consulting is largely still considered a very creative freelance field that anyone can do it. However, yes, it's highly intuitive in the sense that someone does grasp things in terms of etiquette or coaching or branding very intuitively. I would still recommend that you should do a course, because it fine tunes that intuitivity, and you can legitimate say things that you have to. Image consulting courses are highly expensive from good places, but I would say it's an investment if you are looking at it doing on a long term. If you're just trying to do this, for a short term to see whether I can do it or not, then I wouldn't recommend spending so much money.
And is it usually, are there different certifications for niches, or is it like an overall image consulting and then you can, get into appearances or like communication?
So one thing great about India is that India doesn't specialize. In the sense that when you're starting out, the cost of learning image consulting in India is really less as compared to rest of the world. In India, as far as I know, it's 1,50,000 or 2,50,000 for the whole thing. But you can do that whole thing for 2,50,000. Everywhere else in the world, you have to spend 7-8 lakhs to do the same thing. Yes, the trainer quality is very different, but that's what I said. If you are starting out, I highly recommend don't specialize. Like when I started image consulting, because I was a headhunter before in talent acquisition. I used to work for senior level hiring. So when I entered image consulting, I thought, you know what? I have so much contacts with corporates. I'm going to become a corporate stylist. I'm going to only work with people, men and women both, where they are only employed in corporates, and I can help them style their corporate outfits, their meetings and everything. However, when I started working, I realized that, oh, I don't enjoy just that part. So if I would have boxed myself into learning just that much, I wouldn't have enjoyed. When I was working initially 12 years back, I also started teaching people on dining. I started teaching people on etiquette or body language. And I realized I don't enjoy that so much. So I started narrowing my field as I started doing things, and I did my certifications very implicitly on those things then. So I would say that if you're starting out, don't just take that one thing if you're in India. Take the advantage of learning everything, experimenting, like put your hands in everything just for the first few months, then decide where you want to specialize, and then you should 100% specialize and not do everything.
Like just experiment around and see what
Yeah,
you
so
like.
the initial few things you should, like, I feel that initial few months, at least a year, you don't want to spend another money to specialize, because people outside of India, the trainings are really different in terms of specialization. However, the nuances in India are very different. Like someone sitting in Europe is never going to realize why Kolhapuri chappal is formal for us, or why we can't wear stockings in India. It's not something appreciated as a culture. Whereas someone in North America or Europe is going to say, Kolhapuri chappals you cannot wear, it's an open toe shoe.
Correct.
Stockings are a must. So the sensitivities you will only understand in the region that you are.
Yeah.
So once your base is strong, and when you specialize, you can take that mixture of your base and specialization and create something which is very unique to you.
Yeah, correct. Tell me how you went from talent acquisition to image consulting. That's quite a move, right?
I have a very romantic story always when I
Oh, is
say
it?
this. Sometimes I feel, how you look back. I always tell people that when you look back, that's always a story. But when you're going through it, it's just emotions.
Yeah.
So in 2007, I think, I was in New York with my husband, 7 or 8, I don't recall. And I saw this New York image consulting. And before that, I was always interested in fashion, but I never wanted to be a fashion designer. I'm like, I don't want to create. I just want to like put things together. And stylist as a course was not there in 2007. All the stylists that you see now, Gurnami or Ami and all of them, were just starting out. There was nothing there in 2007. Like no celebrity used to hire a stylist. The designer used to dress the celebrities, and that was it. So I was like, I don't know what to do about that. And that's when I thought that, image consulting is a nice thing. Let me research. When I started researching more, and coincidentally, I was in New York where the first image consulting institute had started. And I'm like, oh, this is something I could start in India, because coming from a corporate bend, I realized that there is a gap. And especially when I'm in hiring, I realized that the soft skills are so important. The way they dress to interviews were so important.
Yeah.
So I was unconsciously coaching them, wear this kind of shirt and go. Don't wear this and go for your interview, because I was working for senior level hirings. So I decided to put two and two together. I came back to Bombay. I started my first company. I called it Bella Signora. Every single person, I sent out 200 brochures, because that's the number of people I knew. So I literally got brochures made. I did everything. I sent out individually to them. And I think 80 or 90% of them felt that it's a makeup class.
Oh.
Because they had no idea what this is. I shut my business. I started back to my recruitments. I'm like, this is not happening. I gave it 6 months. I'm like, I need to figure something out. Then I had my elder one. And when my son was 6 months old, my brother-in-law sent me this small ad in a newspaper where Image Consulting Institute was starting in India. And he said, you know what, this is something that you were looking at. Maybe you should look at this.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where I just went, enrolled in the course, and then I can say rest is history.
It's amazing how you started it. Like, I think you were just too ahead of times, right? Like,
Yeah, I started
ready.
it thinking that there is a need.
Yeah.
And then nobody realized. And I did not have the money to do brand awareness. Luckily, ICBI had that tie-up with Times of India for the first 4 years. And that's how Times of India promoted image consulting very heavily, and that awareness started happening. So right place, right time.
And like you mentioned freelance. So is it always freelance is the business model, or can you be a solopreneur, or like you had a company? Is it like, what's the usual mode of?
So image consultants don't. That's what I said. Styling is a recognized certificate.
Yeah.
Image consulting is still not affiliated with any big institute. Like a NIFT is not doing image consulting. I did a short stint with Whistling Woods, where I would train their fashion designers on image consulting, because when they go out, they don't know what their image is and what they should do. So I worked with them for almost 2 or 3 semesters before I moved to Singapore.
Oh, wow.
With Nitalula School of Fashion. And that's when I realized that fashion institutes need to look at this, because everyone who enters a fashion institute is interested in fashion, but not everyone can become a designer. That requires a different sensibilities. However, some people are good at putting things together. Some people are good at coaching people. But I'm I'm quite surprised that this has not picked up as a mainstream profession, because India will have almost 15-20,000 image consultants. Not a huge number, but we're still there. Like, we still have that number. So that's not there. So now when it comes to your own business, very few people get a job. Okay. Image consulting in most cases is a second career option. Women, because it's an
or
no, a second career option, meaning that I had my child, or I'm tired, I'm in my late 30s, I'm tired of working full time. I want to go back to something. I like fashion. Maybe let me do this. So if you look at the majority population of people who are doing image consulting, majority of them have opted as a second career option. Like for me also, it's a second career option, in the sense that it's my second career that I did. Across the world, it's not just India. Across the world, it has been a second career, because people fail to realize the investment in the first 2 years is very high. So if I was 18-year-old and I wanted to do this course, one, my parents wouldn't understand what this course is. Like my father, for the longest time, he kept on asking me, people really pay you to shop for them? And I'm like, yes. Like, they couldn't understand, why are people paying you to shop for them? So those kind of things, sensibilities. Second, the first 2 years investment in terms of setting my business, buying those kind of clothes for myself, understanding my own body type, my personal style, and doing my wardrobe. All those things are very expensive in the first 2 years when you're not making any money. So as a career, I would say that jobs are far and few. Some companies do hire image consultants, but they don't hire because you're an image consultant. They hire because you have good styling sensibilities.
So what would that company look like? Like, are they a fashion house, or can it be
Uh,
a company as well?
I started my career with a short stint in Myntra. When
Okay.
Myntra was just starting out, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm an image consultant. I understand better than stylist. I understand what body shapes is.
Yeah.
But fashion house, not, I wouldn't say fashion houses. I would say e-commerce companies do hire. There are a couple of places that are trying to build like a whole network of image consultants, and then people can work with them. But so far, I feel everything has been on freelance basis. I don't see anyone getting a full-time salary. Like, there is no confirmed salary as such right now.
Right.
I did try to create a lot of jobs in that sense for image consultants. So that there's this. So I used to head styling for this company called Style Theory. It's Asia Pacific's biggest styling rental platform.
Wow.
And I met the founder and I said that, hey, I'm going to be better than any stylist you hire, because I understand body shapes very differently. So working with their data team, working with their buying team, telling them, how a regular body and a plus size body are different, and how we can look at sourcing. So those kind of things. So even in India, there is this company called Style Nook, which is very similar to a box styling service.
Okay.
And I kept a tab on Indian market, but image consulting is still not a salaried job, unless someone individually will go and talk to that person or a founder and say, I can do this. It is solely a freelance or start your own company sort of a thing. Across the world. It is not specific to India.
Interesting. And like you said, it's more on initiative basis almost, right? Because you
Yeah,
have to go
100%.
and pitch for yourself. So is
Yes.
that how it works for clients as well? I mean, I'm sure as a freelancer, it's so difficult, I would assume, to find clients. So how did you do it?
I would say social media has helped me greatly. Even when I started, Facebook was just starting out in India, becoming popular. And I used to write my post on Facebook. And that's how if it was a new field now for people to feel, people always felt that image consulting is a very combination of a PR and reputation management firm. Like, celebrities used to hire PRs, or celebrities used to hire reputation management consultants. Image consulting is a mixture of both. Like, they try not exactly both fields, but a mixture of very little of both. So regular people who are not celebrities or from business houses, they always used to feel, oh, this is not for me. This is for someone with a lot of money, or someone with this. And then that whole awareness pitch that, even we dress up and go for meetings, even we do this. So that awareness pitch was interesting. You have to be absolutely out and about. There was no other way.
So tell me something like this is I'm really interested in knowing what would be your pitch. Like, let's say you found someone, they seem interested. What is your sales pitch to ensure that they become your client?
Honestly, I don't even remember what it was 12 years back because I've pitched, like, I have changed my pitches so much now.
Mhm.
But if
Yeah.
I have to, like, today when people come to me and they ask that what they want to do, my simple pitch is that I help you discover your personal style and you are going to be you and not a style that the retailers are trying to sell you. Because people often go to a store and they see my cousin looked good in this one, my this looks great on my sister, this looks good on my office colleague, maybe I should also buy it because it's in
Mhm.
trend. But a, not necessary that you actually like it, but how do you know? Because you don't know your personal style. You've never sat down with yourself and you've said that, hey, this is my personal style, I
Hmm.
shouldn't just buy it. So
Yeah.
when this is my pitch, that I don't tell you what you should buy, I will tell you what you should definitely not buy.
What do you think is the toughest part of your job? Do you have any like specific, memory or experience with like a challenging situation or a challenging client at any point?
Think there are tons of, I will say I have been lucky that I can only count barely one or two people that has been challenging much. The only one challenging thing that I can 100% share is that I'm not a certified life coach. I'm not a psychologist.
Hmm.
I'm not certified into that. But when people come to me, I'm almost like a life coach or a psychologist for them
Hmm.
because we don't realize the number of body image issues they come with.
Hmm.
Like I still remember I had a client where in Singapore, and you know what? She is that who's and who's where it's like you get inspired by her. You've read about her in the newspapers, and you know that. So when she comes to me and she's like, hey, I need your help. One, I was like, wow, she's reached out to me. Second, when I start talking to her and I realize that me as an external person, I feel that you've achieved so much in life that I am inspired by your journey.
Hmm.
And yet you carry that body image trauma that was with you when you were 13, 14 years old. Like you are in your late 40s now, and still you carry that trauma. And that is a tiny part of you, maybe not in a daily life, but when it comes to dressing, that still hurts you. So,
Yeah.
that whole talking to people, I think that's very challenging to draw a line where I can't be sympathetic with them. I can only be empathetic. So, where to draw that line has been a very personal challenge because as a person, also, I'm a little softy. So, that becomes, it used to initially, it used to tremendously affect me when I used to listen people's stories
Yeah.
of their personal lives and how they have not just body image, tons of other things. So yeah, that is a challenge.
Did you learn to work around it just with time? Like, how did you?
Yeah, with time there was no, again, I feel that maybe I'm not a trained life coach or a trained psychologist, but as a person, what I am, it has helped me also put myself in their shoes and understand their perspective. And then, but it has happened with time. With every single client, I tell people I learn so much about myself while working with clients.
Yeah.
They learn the styling bit and they learn that, but all the psychology bit that I know, that why a haircut changes someone's perspective to life or why these kind of clothes are like that, that has purely been my observation while working with so many people.
It's amazing. It's a two-way street. They get
Yeah,
great
it's good. Oh
personal
yes.
styling tips, and you get all the other learnings.
Yeah.
Do you think that this profession, like image consulting in general, is it a lucrative profession?
You have to give your time
Mm-hmm.
like any other field, because this is not, let's just compare this with interior designing. Any interior designer, if they're not working with the interior designing firm
Hmm.
and they're freelancing, they're not going to earn great at the start, because
No.
you have to get your name out in the market.
No.
Even if we look at dentists, which is such a, they've studied for it, they're
Mm.
doctors for God's sake, and yet we won't go to a new dentist. Our parents will always say, oh, this person doesn't know too
Yeah.
much, he's just passed out a year back, right? So that person has to give its time, and that time might come after 20 years. It's the same with image consulting. Every single successful image consultant that you see in the globe, they are almost grandmothers now.
Oh
Like
wow.
the oldest image consultant that I know, she's 87 years old.
So it's a
Yeah.
lot of time that goes into.
Yeah, I feel that she started achieving success where she can actually say it's successful. Like I know someone personally, and I
Hmm,
feel she's in her what late 60s now.
hmm,
And it's in the last 15 years that she has felt that she's successful now. So she's given almost 15, 17 years of her life to this to then feel that, hey, I think I have reached, like I have arrived. So
that's
it takes a lot of time. It's not something that starts at the get go.
yeah.
I, yeah, there could be some unicorns, but it takes a lot to set yourself, set your name for people to not bargain on your cost. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think you need a lot of patience
Oh
to.
yeah, 100%. It's not a short term thing. That's what I tell people, that you cannot just think of it ki 2 saal mein kya hoga. Don't do the expensive course if you think that you're not going to be in it for the long term because
Yeah,
there is no
2 years is not
guarantee.
enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
um, Jenny, so you are currently in talent acquisition as we spoke, and of course you're doing content creation on the side. You're also image consulting, of course. How and you're a mom. So how do you balance all these things? How do you juggle so much?
I don't know. Sometimes when I feel it's crazy, but I am innately a great organizer.
Mhm.
So my day happens on my calendar. I have a book where I write down what needs to be done at work during my 9 to 5 job. My boss at my office often jokes that, once my 9 to 5 is over, I start my second 5 to 9. So once the office is over, she's like, oh, do you have a second shift of work today? But when it comes to, okay, if I have to block like put blocks in it, I don't take more than one client at a time. I've stopped doing that because I'm not
Okay.
doing image consulting full time right now.
Hmm.
Emotionally, a client takes a lot from me.
Hmm.
So I have decided that unless I finish one client, I'm not going to take a second client.
Hmm.
So that is how I keep my sanity.
Great.
Second, I create my content in batch. So if you see similar lipstick videos, then it's because I've shot them in batch. I just change my top. But I have like a huge book if I can show you. Wait. This is my this is my book. It always stays with me. And say, for example, today or tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about shapewear. So I write down every
Oh,
single
wow.
thing that I want to talk.
Mhm.
I make notes on
So,
what are there. So when I'm talking, I don't spend time.
mm,
Now, after doing so many videos and everything, my each video from concept to shoot to edit, I might sometimes just take 15, 20 minutes.
that is
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
rather quick. That's very quick.
Because I once I have a concept in head, I start
Yeah.
writing down everything.
Yeah.
And then I feel, oh, these are good points. This is what people need to know.
Hmm.
Sometimes while writing, I feel that, hey, this is too much. Nobody needs to know. I'll
Hmm.
cancel, I'll write down my top points, and that's it. Then I start talking. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can plan. That's my superpower.
Even, I mean, as I see on your Insta, right, there's so many new brands that you introduced to us. Again, does that come with years of experience because you've discovered
Yeah,
all the time?
I've worked as a personal shopper for so many years. Like even
Hmm.
right now, people might not hire me for styling, but they do hire me for shopping. Like that's my
Hmm.
biggest thing. People are often confused what size to buy, what to do. And I feel that as bad as the pandemic was, it has changed the scene for fashion in India.
Yeah.
The amount of homegrown labels and amazing work that they do. I mean, cost. People are often surprised that sitting in Canada, how am I still buying from India? And I tell them that
Hmm.
a, it is 100% cost effective. Like if I want to go to a gala
Hmm.
where I know the dress is going to be expensive, if I want to buy something which looks nice and unique, I
Hmm.
will have to spend 600, $700, which is going to be like 75, 80,000 rupees.
No,
But I could spend 20, 25
hmm.
and get like great brands from India.
That's true. And
So
so
I
unique styles as well, right? Now,
Yeah, exactly. So if I want to do like a Western formal, I still reach out to Indian brands and see what are they doing in block printing or Ajrak and what can I do in Western formals. Because I genuinely believe that Indian fashion scene is one of the best because we have something of artisanal quality.
yeah.
The second best I feel is Mexico because they also have so much innately that is them, like the
Hmm.
colors, the things that they have.
Yeah.
Besides that, I'm not a fan of just black and white. Like I do wear a lot of black and white, but I feel it's okay. It's very okay.
So even I love me a good color, good print. Like I love that. Really, so like you said that you're doing this on the side. So do you have any tips for any other side hustlers out there who is just setting up um maybe like a side?
People often, so you know what, people often ask me that, oh, your Instagram is doing so good. And I tell them that it is doing good since the last 2 months. But I have close to 1,600 posts. I have been posting on Instagram from 2019, if I'm not wrong, or 2018. I'll have to figure it out, but somewhere.
Yeah.
I I had my bad days, my rough days. So why am I doing this? Why am I spending so much time on it when there is no return?
Mm.
I always got clients from it because whatever short number of followers it was,
Hmm.
I did have my clients from it, which for my image consulting work, it was good, but there was nothing to show online the
Hmm.
amount of work that I put in. So for anyone who's doing this, you have to enter with the right reason.
Hmm.
If you are entering with whatever knowledge you have, in the sense, if you are a dancer or if you're a comic or even if you're doing any creative art or anything, you have to come for the right reason, and
Hmm.
you have to come thinking that this is not going to work, but I want to do it because I'm passionate about it.
That.
Because there is no set formula, irrespective of what agency you hire, irrespective
Hmm.
of what you do. I've done everything, I've spent all kinds of money. That
Hmm.
okay, maybe I don't know how this works, and I've learned that, oh, any single YouTube guru or any single Instagram guru can tell you that these are the techniques, but nothing works except for consistency. Good or bad, you have to be consistent in creating it. So it is very easy for me to say now when my Instagram is picking at this moment. But if you had asked me this couple of months back, I'm like, I don't know. But this is my only learning, that there's nothing. I know so many good creators who are stuck at 10,000, and I'm like, but that is so good, like what they share. However, it's just not happening for them. Like you can't do anything.
How did you power through the bad days, right? I'm sure there were days where you posting good content.
I cried a lot, and I have a therapist.
That always works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very vocal about it that it's okay. And specifically for me, because I also keep on changing countries while I'm doing this, I'm like,
Hmm.
I cry a lot. I have an extremely supportive husband. My son is 13 years old. My daughter is 8. They do understand when my bad days are on, and they're like giving me space. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah. A good support system can take you a long way. I think that is
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
definitely true. I also saw online that you have this really cool motto, refuse to be unseen, which I personally love. I identify with also, I would say. What do you mean by it?
So I'm just going to go a backstory with
Hmm.
this. I had a client who, she was a lawyer. She is a lawyer. And, she always, like, there was this amazing feminine side to her. But she's a lawyer for 10, 12 years. She's working for a consulting firm, all the hedge fund guys and her. So, she sort of started drowning because although she was not litigating, so she was not going to the court, but she had to wear very subtle colors. She always felt that a room full of men, if I go with a red suit, then I'm always going to be perceived as, oh, she just dresses and she comes. My brains are not going to be acknowledged. So while I was working with her, that's when I coined this term. I said, you know what? You and me both are going to make sure that you will be refused to be unseen. And people can judge you as much as you want for your clothes, but your work will speak for yourself. And that was so much of mental training for her and for me also, to tell her that you are going to wear this, you are going to do this, I obviously understand high profile meetings, you have to be subtle in the background. But, and coincidentally, Khara Kapas was just starting out that
Mhm.
time. We bought so many Ikkat jumpsuits and Ikkat suits from Khara Kapas because I
Hmm.
think Khara Kapas was the first one that started doing contemporary
Hmm.
pieces, Western pieces with Indian
Yeah.
blocks, and yeah. And we did so many of those that you want to wear a black and white, wear a black and white Ikkat. Don't go to Van Hussein and buy that. So that's what my motto is, that it's not necessary that everyone has to be out and about. Some people innately are a very, they are introvert, they don't like being out, that's okay. But if you are someone who are this extroverted person who likes to be that out and about person, then don't diffuse your shine because what someone else will say or think. So that's my motto, that you have to refuse to be unseen. Your dressing cannot dictate what people think about you.
this advice I'm going to take for myself as well. I'm sure the listeners will too. Jenny, so at this point, Instagram, right? It's like full of so many fashion influencers, and they again, like you, as do you, share a lot of personal styling tips, but without a degree or without a certification. So, give me your honest take on all these fashion influencers on Instagram.
So one is I have this whole video because I was so bugged. One is they are not influencers. I'm not an influencer myself. We are content creators. We create content. Okay. Influencer is such a heavy word, like
Mm.
a weight on shoulder. I hope people realize that to influence someone is to take them in a life direction that you won't realize.
It's a
And you
huge
can't do that.
responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility, and you can't do that. Like, you can't decide for someone else by your actions, because you might be able to rectify it later on. What if someone else is not? So, one, it's a very cringe word for me. I'm like, don't do that. Second, when it comes to fashion, is very interpretive, right? I love Komal Pandey. I will never be able to wear even a fraction of what she wears. One, because my and her body type is different, but I like to consume her content from a cinematography perspective.
Same,
Like,
same.
I just like to look at it. I don't even click a single brand that she refers,
Hmm.
because for me it's irrelevant. I just don't think that that will work for me. Some brands I can recognize some brands because I know those brands, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, this piece was nice from that brand.
Hmm.
But I will not, like, my idea, she's not there for on clickable links for me. But I love the way she creates her passion, her videos. She's a game changer when it comes to Indian fashion content,
Yeah.
but it's not a takeaway content. So people have to realize, are you following someone purely for the artistic side, or
Hmm.
are you following someone to consume that part?
Yeah.
Because you have to be very clear why you are doing that. And I feel that in the fashion game, there's this Hindi term, kuch bhi chalta hai. People might have this 10 ways to wear a white shirt, and I'm like, where are you wearing and you're going? Like, go out and show me that you wore this on the street.
Yeah.
And it's not even about staying in India or staying anywhere else. Like, even here, if I'm going to wear the white shirt the way you're telling me, make it like an off shoulder, button here, button there, people are going to laugh at me, even because it's my regular life now. I'm not just walking in fashion circles always. This is my life, going to office, going grocery, where am I wearing this? So I tell people that don't get conscious ki you don't have to. It's not, it might not be relatable, then you don't have to follow people who are just constantly giving you bad advice and you can't do anything about it. So yeah, I think fashion is very interpretative. You have
Yeah.
to. So I'll turn 41 in July. Not necessary that everyone associates with my fashion, because I feel that my fashion is turning to maybe a bit more mature fashion, and I might not be relatable, obviously, to an 18-year-old. I'm not even expecting an 18-year-old to follow me, because
Yeah.
kya, what will you understand of my life when I talk? You are closer to my son's age than my age.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my son to follow me and then to do things. It's exactly like that. You have to follow your age range,
Hmm.
have to understand why you are following them.
Yeah.
And with number of fashion, fashion is such a thing. Anyone who thinks that they can dress well will start creating content. And I'm like, but what was the purpose of this?
Well, that's how it is. Okay, so we're at the almost at the end of the episode. This is the last
Okay.
segment, and I have three final questions for you.
Okay.
So the first one, give us one tip, one personal styling tip for anyone who's a working professional, so anyone who basically goes to office.
Comfortable shoes.
Mm.
You don't have to wear heels. It's not a compulsion. Like, comfortable shoes because you're walking, you're working, invest in them. And comfortable pants if you're wearing Western formals. Like, don't fit yourself into Western formals, because India doesn't have, like, we are still starting with fit a few brands. But yeah, those two major tips will help you take a long way.
Yeah, completely agree. Can you name three homegrown Indian brands that you think do really well in terms of workwear?
After the pandemic, people have stopped expecting people to be in a suit and all that. Like, you can be creative with your day-to-day work also. So I don't know that, but if I tell you brands that are doing great internationally
Hmm.
and with their sizing, is Jodi Life, Khara Kapas. After the pandemic, people have stopped expecting people to be in a suit and all that. Like, you can be creative with your day-to-day work also. So I don't know that, but if I tell you Brands that are doing great internationally
Hmm.
and with their sizing is Jodi Life, Khara Kapas.
Okay, so the last question for the evening. What would you say to someone who is kind of struggling with their personal style, or with their sizing, clothing, body image issues, anything like that?
The first one I'm going to say as an ad is you have to enroll in my course. I have e-courses that tackles everything. And second, it's because I will say that sit down with yourself. And a quick tip, open your wardrobe. Remove 5 pieces of clothing that you like, 5 you don't like, but things that you have bought, not gifted. And then make a note of each item on why you like and why you don't like. Like, why are these 5 pieces that you absolutely love and why are these 5 pieces that you don't like? Just those simple comparative notes will help you that there are some factors while buying or shopping: fit, fabric, cost, maintenance. It could be anything: texture, color, style, or why you like something and why you dislike something.
Hmm.
That can be your starting point to understand.
Hmm.
Second, when it comes to body, I think it has been far too many years where we have fed this notion that this is a certain type that looks good. And I hope that you find that courage to break that stereotype for yourself, because this is my current body. The hope of past or the scope of future is going to just hamper my present. It's not going to help me style myself. So yeah.
Wonderful. That's such good advice. And I'm going to remember it on days where I'm questioning, whether
Yeah. Oh,
I'm.
even today when I have so much things, but I still, there are days when I question,
Hmm.
far and few, but it's a very normal human mind thing.
Yeah.
It's just that you have to overcome that. And some days you're not feeling well, then black is the color. Just drape yourself in an oversized black shirt and you're okay with it.
That always works. Awesome, awesome. Jenny, thank you so much. This was such a
Thank you,
fun
Nitya.
and such an insightful conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nitya. Thank you for having me.